Senator Hillary Clinton spoke to a crowd of about 500 at the Grand Fire Station Monday morning about several issues in her race against Barack Obama for the Democratic presidential nomination. Clinton focused much of her 30-minute talk on the out-of-control gas prices in North Carolina and across the country.
Good morning, Graham, North Carolina. Wow, it is so exciting to be here with all of you, and I too want to thank the police department, the fire department, and the city for allowing us to be here today and to have this opportunity. And I want to thank the students from River Mills School who are here as well. I am thrilled to be with you. I know my husband was here in 1992, and I think a few of you might remember that. And I think there is so much excitement in North Carolina because you're going to help pick a president next year. We have a lot of problems we have to solve. And, you know, last night it was such a beautiful night, and I was outside, and we were by the river, and you've been to Wilmington, and the USS North Carolina was in the background, and I was thinking to myself, I don't want to go anywhere, and so I just talked and talked and talked, and, you know, luckily people stayed and stayed and stayed. But I think one of the papers said I talked for an hour. That was usually something they said about my husband. And so I won't talk for any hour today, but I am going to talk about some of the issues that I think are really important to the people of North Carolina. And I want to start about the gas crisis. The cost of gas. It is emptying the pockets of middle-class families, and it is lining the pockets of oil companies and foreign governments. That's exactly what's going on here. It's a problem I hear about everywhere I travel throughout North Carolina, or really any state, because people are saying, wait a minute, what is happening here? And I think it demands presidential leadership. Now, I'm hoping President Bush is tuned in and watching us right now, because I want the voices from Graham, North Carolina to be heard in the White House about what we should be doing here. So now in the short term, we have to take aim at these enormous oil company profits. I would immediately introduce legislation to lower gas prices by imposing a windfall profits tax on the oil companies and using that money. I would use that money to temporarily suspend the federal gas tax. Now, the federal gas tax is important to us because that money goes right into the Highway Trust Fund, and that's what we use to repair roads and bridges, so we can't stop doing that. But I think that if we suspended it and made up the lost revenues by putting a temporary windfall profits tax on the oil companies, that's the best of both worlds. They would help to pay for what we need to do to continue to repair and modernize and rebuild our roads, but we would give people during the peak driving months of the summer some temporary relief. Now, this is one of the big differences in this race. My opponent, Senator Obama, opposes giving consumers a break from the tax, the gas tax at the federal level. I support it. I understand that the American people need some relief, and you see, I think we want to show that the government can actually work for hardworking Americans again. So doing something like that sends a very clear message. Meanwhile, Senator McCain says he's all for a gas tax holiday, but he won't pay for it. Well, that's a mistake, because we can't give up on building and repairing our roads. So my plan is 100% paid for with the windfall profits tax on big oil. The second thing I would do to address these high gas prices is to close the loopholes and tax breaks in Dick Cheney's energy bill that was passed in 2005. So we're going to crack down on price gouging and market manipulation in wholesale oil prices. You see, the government needs to stand up and be a watchdog. Human nature being what it is, human beings, and corporations are made up of human beings, are going to push as hard as they can for their advantage, aren't they? That's why you need a balance of power. That's why you need a strong, aggressive government watchdog. And we don't have one. You know, it is like, you know, the foxes guarding the hen houses with the two oil men in the White House who are sure not getting much of a supervised oversight. And I am convinced that the Iraqi government believes it has a blank check. and therefore does not have to make these tough decisions. So I've said I will ask my Joint Chiefs, plus the Secretary of Defense and my security advisors, to come up with a plan to begin withdrawing our troops within 60 days. We can probably take out 1 to 2 brigades a month, and as we do, we will make it clear to the Iraqis that they now have to step up and make the decisions that only they can make for themselves. I have been to Iraq 3 times. I have met with their leadership countless times, both there and in the United States. Every time I meet with them, it's the same story. Oh yeah, we're getting ready to pass an oil law. Oh yes, we're getting ready to have reconciliation. Oh yes, we're going to bring in the Sunnis into the government. I've heard that for 5 years. And I believe the only way to concentrate their attention is to begin to withdraw our troops and bring them home. I hope you will decide to take that vote as seriously as any decision you've ever made. And if you do, if you stand up for me next Tuesday, I promise you I will never forget you, and I will stand up and fight for you in North Carolina.